Taurus, hello. I feel called to do your timeless reading. So let's see what comes up. For you, I'm using my Wild Unknown Tarot. I just felt like it for whatever reason. So let's see what we have. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I need more though. Okay. Okay, let's pull from the Archetypes by Kim Krans. Oh, we're doing all Kim Krans today. So let's see if this helps clarify anything we need to know for Taurus for this time period, which I'm trusting it'll find you at the time and place it most resonates if I didn't already say that. Yeah. And use your discernment when listening to tarot readings because I'm making this up a little bit and it's only meant as confirmation or food for thought. Yeah, well, Taurus, frankly, it sounds very intense in your world. Ugh. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, oh, I feel called to do Taurus's reading. Yeah, it'll just be a little light breezy reading and we'll just like get through it and then I'll move on with my evening. But nope, it's like unbelievably intense. So hopefully this does not resonate with you. And you're like, my life's fine, my life's great, I'm not going through the apocalypse right now. But, you know, I think this has come up for other signs as well. And I am shuffling them. And I think the thing about the apocalypse is I think we're all, I mean, okay, these are timeless readings. So the idea behind them is like, even if you're listening to this in 2027, it'll resonate. But I should mention I'm doing this reading as of June, late June, beginning of July, 2021. And the idea in the world is that we're done with the pandemic, right? We're like, okay, that's over. Let's go outside. Let's like stop wearing our masks. Let's just like party. And I've been guilty of participating in that because it's like with, you know, okay, we got like death in reverse. I'm just saying there's like this kind of wanting to skip to the good parts very desperately and understandably. And, you know, I have the Six of Swords with the rainbow, etc. But I also have here the Five of Cups, the Hermit in reverse, the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, and the Three of Cups in reverse, and then the Shapeshifter. In fact, I'm going to pull out the book for the Shapeshifter because I feel like that's part of the conversation. Oh, right. So I was like saying like the idea is like in 2027, this will still resonate with you, but let's keep in mind the time and the place of this reading. It's like we've all been through a lot of trauma at this point collectively, and yet here we are kind of like wanting to move on with our lives and again wanting to skip to the good parts, right, of the rainbow and just like live happily ever after. It's like basically I think what we're trying to do is like yeah, sure, a bunch of bad stuff happened, but you know what, everything's great, everything's fine, like we're happy now. Look at us, we've moved on. But you know, I think that Five of Cups, there is grief to be felt in the context of this, the apocalypse. And the apocalypse is not just the pandemic. The apocalypse is typically like heavy energies that were lurking in our subconscious minds or in our collective subconscious. It's like the wounds of society. It's individual wounds meets collective wounds meets all the shit we were avoiding, trying not to talk about, trying to sweep under the rug. We have to let it surface. It is surfacing. It's kind of like something that's been untreated for a little too long is now starting to get out of control and beyond our control. It's kind of the apocalypse energy. Apocalypse, deriving from the Greek root apocalypsis something, meaning to uncover, to unveil. So kind of like we're learning how Soylent Green was made, and we're like, oh, it's not very good. We were eating that, you know? And I have questions about the Impossible Burger, but that's a side tangent that we don't need for this tarot reading. What we're talking about is we've been through the ringer. And even if you're here in 2027, maybe this applies to you in that way. Maybe you kind of didn't deal with some stuff after the pandemic. Maybe you moved on with your life and you said, yep, here I am, here at my happy ever after. And now maybe this feels like I feel haunted by this card and by this card, by these cards. And I think the message with them is just like, hey, what did you not let yourself feel? What was really going on for you? Probably there was a lot to feel and a lot to unpack and a lot to process and a lot to digest. And you were just in this survival mode, right? And you didn't have those opportunities. And now there's so much maybe of it that it feels uncomfortable to... I'm just getting that with this being in reverse. But with this being upright, I also feel like it's so much, it's so here, it's so present that you kind of are like in this state of like having no other way of moving forward other than to feel your grief. And so it's like kind of like you have no choice right now. And so maybe you are feeling a lot of grief, but that's okay. Like, I think that's good. I think what this card wants to speak to you with, Taurus, is like, let it come. Let it come. And none of that like, oh, I'm crazy, or I'm too much, or I should be over this by now, or I can't believe this is still affecting me. Like, no, like, I mean, even healing happens in a spiral. But the death in reverse feels like a death of something that happened a long time ago. Or a long time ago meaning a couple months ago to 7 years ago. Something is surfacing, this past trauma, right? Where I just kind of wanted to skip ahead to the part where I felt good. But now here I am having to deal with the part where I have to feel all those feelings that were related, even if they're belated. That rhymed, so it must be right. Okay. Now, again, Six of Swords, this is like the wanting to get to this rainbow, wanting to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. But the way to get through the tunnel is to go through. You have to go through the tunnel to get to the light. I mean, that's how tunnels work. You know, you have to keep going. And someone said that to me. I know some other guy said it, like Winston Churchill or something, but a personal person I know in my life said if you're going through hell, you have to keep on going. You have to keep on going to get to this light at the end of the tunnel, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's talk about the shapeshifter, and let's read a little bit from the book about it. I pulled right to it, so we know. Okay, the trickster, the elusive, the formless. The shapeshifter has a love of theater, games, and trickery. Its energy appears as one thing, only to reveal a very more complex story below the surface. The shapeshifter is within all of us to some degree. It is the side of ourselves that is slippery, non-committal, and experimental, and longs to dismiss the rules. We need its energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. When the shapeshifter card appears, it's important to imagine you are looking at life through a kaleidoscope rather than a single focused lens. At any moment, the scene may shift, revealing a more enchanting vision than you imagined. Be wary, though, as the allure of the kaleidoscope can leave you exhausted and yearning for solid ground. Dancing long-term with the shapeshifter requires a central pillar of integrity that links us back to our center. When light, vibrant, adaptive, humorous. When dark, charlatan, people-pleasing trickery. To go deeper, Cindy Sherman. I'm not sure I understand that reference. Maybe you do. The shapeshifter is related to the mask. Notice if these cards come up together in one reading. If so, you are in the realm of heavy theater, illusion, possibly deception. The ultimate shapeshifter works undercover in service of the greater good. The diminished shapeshifter becomes a people pleaser. Well, then I have the Hermit, the Nine of Pentacles, and in reverse, and Three of Pentacles in reverse. So, I feel that we read all this, so we're on the same page about that. And with the Three of Cups in reverse, the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, it kind of makes me feel like part of what you're going through, perhaps, Taurus, I'm speculating here, is that you maybe, for example, thought you were part of a friend group, you thought you had found success, you thought you had found belonging, you thought you had found your home amongst maybe a group of people, but it didn't end up being the case like that, right? I mean, that when I was reading this, one person in particular in my life very much came into mind, and I will share the story of that lightly. I thought I met people who I was like, I found my Three of Cups moment. I found my community. I found the people that get me and that I'm going to go far with. And I'm going to have all this success with them. And I feel successful just being in their presence. And I feel excited to get to know them better. And I feel like they feel the same way about me. It turned out that wasn't quite the case. I did not end up being a part of that group. I did not find success with them. I ended up never talking to them ever again. So there were these like expectations I had of how I was going to find my Three of Cups moment, how I was going to find my Nine of Pentacles. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just shapeshifted. It became the opposite. It was an illusion. It was a mirage. And there was a disappointment because I had these expectations of like, I found community, I found success, I found my own independence. Like I'm getting there. I'm getting it, like life is good. But then it's like the apocalypse as well. Like, oh, hey, here's all the trauma and the bad things and nope, it wasn't good. It's not good. Trauma, right? Heartbreak. End of an identity. End of like the way I wanted it to go, the way I had hoped. And also maybe losing sight in the process of this rainbow, and just being then even more desperate for the rainbow, and even feeling maybe even more despair because it's like, oh my god, I'm down here in this darkness, and no matter what, I can't seem to get out, right? And so maybe now, again, this is all coming up, and you're like, I can't believe I'm still thinking about that. You know what? Speaking of this energy, I remember when I was 13 years, I'm a witch, I guess, so, like, who knows how old I am, but I've been around for a while, despite maybe appearances. And I remember when I was 13, I wanted to be friends with this girl, thought I found community with her, thought she was, like, maybe my BFF. It didn't end up being that way. She ended up being very hurtful, right? There's the grief, there's the, like, death of that relationship, the heartbreak. I mean, I didn't even pull the Three of Swords, but with this apocalypse, like, you bet I'm feeling trauma associated with this disappointment and with this death card of, like, an ending I'm just having a difficult time wrapping my head around and accepting because it's in reverse. A death I didn't want to happen, a death, like, a thing I let go of that I didn't want to have to let go of, but that was, like, almost taken from me, right? And I still dream about her to this day, and that's crazy. Like, why? But it's like, it at some point, maybe some of these things become symbolic of the idea of rejection and of the ideas of, like, kind of feeling perpetually displaced and not knowing how to orient ourselves in the world, or a sense of, like, community and belonging. Taurus. But I got this Hermit in reverse, and I feel like really the process and the message of your reading, though it was a little intense and weird, is like, hey, look, don't give up on your rainbow. They're, somewhere over the rainbow. And Wizard of Oz themes have been kind of, like, loosely coming up. They came up for Taurus. For Capricorn, you are Taurus. So, like, an earth energy type thing that seems to be coming up is Wizard of Oz themes. Like, somewhere over the rainbow, like, it still waits for you, right? Like, this story isn't over. You're still on your Six of Swords journey towards the light at the end of the tunnel. But, like, what is the light at the end of the tunnel? Oh my god, and I'm wearing my turtle shirt, and there's a turtle here. And I just saw a sign that said slow and steady wins the race. All good news, Taurus. Like, I think the thing is like the answers are within you, which is cheesy and confusing and hard, and maybe that's why this is in reverse, right? It's like I'm looking for my rainbow somewhere out there, somewhere over the rainbow. I'm looking for my happiness and to get out of this apocalypse. But everything feels like an illusion and deceives me, and I just can't really seem to like pinpoint these things that I really want, community and success. And I've been through so much, and now it's all coming up, and it's like, oh my god, why is it still coming up? Is this process of things coming up ever going to be over? And it's like, yes, feel it, let it happen, let it come, accept the death that has happened, accept the endings that you've been through, find peace and accept, and get to the acceptance part of the grief process. The grief process is bargaining or something, denial, anger, just like being depressed or something, sadness maybe, and then acceptance. So I think there's just a message of like, go through the grief process and take your time, go slow. The Hermit being in reverse, maybe you're rushing yourself, but you don't need to rush yourself. But also with the Hermit, the answers, the light that creates the refraction to create the rainbow is within you. You are the light. So it's like, that's hard to believe, maybe that's hard to access, that's hard to feel. But isn't that Dorothy's journey anyway? There's no place, like, it was within her the whole time. All she had to do was like tap her shoes, etc. So the point being, so cheesy, so cliched, so like the thing everyone says, the obvious, but it's like, you know the way. You do know. You're just afraid you're afraid of your own power, maybe. You're afraid of your own inner knowing, so maybe you're avoiding yourself, and maybe you're avoiding yourself by looking for yourself in places that you don't exist, because that's not you. It's an illusion. But you're the you. You're this. You create this. This is a reflection of you. And you can heal from the apocalypse. You can conquer this. I have Buffy in the background. She's kind of like my guide sometimes. You can get here because you're the light, and you just have to know that to get this upright. And part of that process is not avoiding some of the lingering pain that's in the dark, because that is somehow how you're going to find the light, is like this purging and releasing process of things you've been carrying that you don't need to hold on to any longer. And even if it's been stuff that comes up from like a long ass time ago, that's still valid, and still you can complete that cycle. You can complete that cycle, kind of accept this has happened, and get this upright, access your own inner light, going slow and steady, and being kind of like internal and deliberate, knowing it's all in you. You are your own home. You are your own home. You carry your home on your back. Wherever you go, there you are your home. You do belong. You are a citizen of the world and in community always, and you are a success by virtue of being yourself, and that is the light and the rainbow, and that knowing and that feeling it and understanding it on a deep bodily visceral level by going through that grieving process and letting that finish and trusting yourself is the way out, basically. So it has a happy ending, and I love that. Okay. Intense, but I think I'm excited for you. It sounds like a good positive completion process. So I'll leave it there, and I'll see you again next time. Bye. Love you.